Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an ACE tutorial. Today's tutorial is going to be in Photoshop. I'm using Photoshop CC 2020, and we're going to be making a mesh pattern that has all sorts of different uses. So without any delay whatsoever, let's go ahead and get into it. Alrighty folks, we're in Photoshop as you can see, and I want to make fairly obvious that I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of like how your workspace may differ from mine, what plugins and what panels and what tools I may have on the screen at any given moment. That's something for you to decide. It's each user has different things that they do. I do want to let you know that we will not always be doing all of our tutorials and things like Photoshop. Sometimes we'll be doing how to build websites, how to create videos, how to use a lot of online tools that are free. So please stay tuned, Ace. It's not always going to be, in programs where you're going to have to spend money or large amounts of money for subscriptions, that kind of thing. But anyway, let's get into this making a mesh pattern and show you a couple use cases real quick. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go to File and New, and let's make our document 250 by 250 pixels, which seems kind of small, but we're going to be repeating this pattern over larger areas, so we want to start small and build up. Normally, resolution in Photoshop is defaulted at 72 pixels per inch, and if you want to do printing on like t-shirts or any kind of really high-tech digital printing, probably want to go about 300. We're doing a happy medium at 150. And we want our background to be transparent. There's a really good reason for that, and I'll tell you later. By the way, folks, I'm using Windows, so anytime I say Command, if you're on a Mac, please use, and when I say Control, if you're on a Mac, please use Command. And if I say Alt, please use Option, but I'm not going to say that every time because that kind of slows me down. Speaking of which, if I'm going a little fast, this is kind of an easy tutorial, but if I'm going kind of fast for you, remember you can always pause and rewind. Anyway, the first thing we want to do is we want to double click on the name of this layer and we want to change it to circle because it's kind of important that later on we know that this is the original circle layer. The second thing we want to do is we want to make sure our foreground color right here is 35, 35, 35 on the hex code, kind of a dark gray. Lastly, we want to make sure that our rulers are turned on, which you can do by going to View, Rulers, make sure that check mark is there, or you can hold down Control and hit R and you'll notice that the rulers are toggling. When it comes to the rulers, you use them in some cases to make what you're creating mathematically perfect, I guess. And I found that one of the measurements that I really can get the best performance out of is percent. If you right click in the ruler right here, you'll notice you have lots of different ways that you can measure with the rulers. Percent to me just is easier in most cases. All right, so to really get started, what we're going to do is we're going to maximize the 250 by 250 pixels canvas to take up the whole screen so we can really drill in, zoom in, kind of see what we're getting up close. So we're going to hold down Control, hit 0 on the numpad, and we've now maximized the space. All right, one of the first things we want to do is go up here to the rectangular marquee tool, and we want to right-click on it. We want to choose the elliptical marquee tool. Now, normally, the settings across the top here on the tool are going to be pretty much like this. No feather, create a shape, new selection, whatever. And the style would be normal. And when it's set to normal, if you just click anywhere in the canvas and you move around, you can make ellipses and ovals. And if you hold shift, you can make perfect circles any size you want. But that's not what we're after today. What we want to do is we want to change the style to a fixed size. And I already have mine set to 16 by 16 pixels. The reason for that is if I click anywhere in my canvas, I now have a 16 by 16 circle here, and it doesn't matter where it is. This is our first circle. Now, since we have a selection on a new layer, and we have a color as our foreground color, if I were to hold Alt and hit backspace, what that is going to do is fill whatever's selected with our 35, 35, 35, as you can see. Now what I want to do is I want to hold down Control and hit D, which will deselect our circle. But it's kind of off to the one side. How do we get it in the middle? Well, we hold down Control and A, which actually chooses the entire canvas. You can see the ants marching there. And then we go up to our move tool, which is at the very top for me. You'll see there's two groups of icons here. And the middle one in each will actually align what's in our canvas to the middle, both vertically and horizontally. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to click here. And now that circle is in the center of our document. All right, so the first thing that we really want to do is we want to like copy this layer to a new copy. So we want to hold down Control J, and you can't see it right now because it's right on top of the original circle layer, but there are now two circles. And when you move things around on the canvas, there you can grab it with your mouse and move it wherever you like, but you want really precise movements. You'll use your arrow keys, and if you move an arrow key up, down, left, or right once, your object moves 1 pixel. If you hold down Shift and use one arrow key direction, it'll move 10 pixels at once. So in light of that, I'd like to move this new circle I've just created up 18 pixels. So that means I'm going to hold down Shift and go up twice, and then I'm going to let go of Shift and go down twice. So I've gone up 20 and I come back down 2. So hold down Shift and hit up twice, let go of Shift, down 2. So it's now 18 pixels apart. Now, what I want to do here is I want to create a new circle. It can be basically a duplicate of the original, as was the first one. So we're going to click our original layer again. We're going to hit Control J to duplicate. Now this one, we want to move it over 16 pixels left and up 9 pixels. So we're going to go 20 and 10 and then back off of it. So hold down Shift, move it left 20, and then without holding Shift, move back 4. So that's 16. So now we want to go up 9, which is hold down Shift and go up once. That's 10. Let go of Shift and go down once, and that's 9. Okay, now we want to take this layer and we want to copy it, not the original circle layer, because we just want to make another circle exactly 18 pixels down. So all we have to do is hold down Shift, move the arrow twice, let go of Shift, move the arrow up twice. So now it's 18. Now, you'll notice that the original circle layer and its the original copy have funny names, but these two right here both say the word copy in their name. That's how I know these two layers, I guess you could say. What I'm going to do is make sure one of these is highlighted, hold down Shift, highlight the other layer. So now both of these two layers are highlighted. If I now Control J both of those layers, I have now copied both of those layers. So any movement I make, my copied 2 dots are going to move at once. I want them moved to the right a total of 32 pixels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Shift and go 1, 2, 3 to the right. And then I'm going to let go of Shift and move twice more to the right. Lastly, let's go back to our original circle layer. Hold down Control J, and we've made one more copy. This copy needs to go down 18 pixels. So we're going to hold down Shift and move down twice. Let go of Shift, move up twice, excuse me. And now we have the beginnings of our mesh pattern. At this point, what we want to do is we want to zoom in just a little bit so we can kind of get an idea of what we're looking at. We'll zoom in more as we go. But at this point, we're going to go up here to the rectangular marquee tool, circular elliptical marquee tool that we used. I'm going to right click and go back to the rectangular marquee tool. And I'm going to zoom way in now because what I want to do is I want to see at the pixel level, very close. I'm going to go into my rulers and I'm going to click my left mouse button and drag out a guide. And what I want to do is I want to split that top circle right in the middle, and the same with the bottom one. You'll notice that the guide snaps into position because under View, I also have Snap checked. So generally guides will want to snap into obvious positions like the middle of shapes and things. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a vertical guide splitting these circles and a vertical guide splitting these circles as well. So now with this rectangular marquee tool chosen, again, just like the elliptical marquee tool, if I wanted to, I could freehand a square right now, or a rectangle, or whatever you want to call them, under normal style, but I want a fixed size just like before. However, this time I want my width to be 32 and my height to be 36. And I can click anywhere on my canvas once with my left mouse button, and I have a square that size. Now you'll notice that my pointer changes as I go inside the border of this selection. That's just telling me I can click, drag, and move it, and I'm going to do so and move it right over the guides we've made. If you see the purple crosshairs there, that's telling you that it's perfectly aligned both horizontally and vertically, so I'm going to let go. And now, you know, I don't need the guides. I could hit Control H, which toggles their view on and off, and as well as you'll notice the pixel guide behind. Or I could just go to View, Clear Guides. But at any rate, what's inside this selection is going to become our pattern. You'll see how that works in a second. I'm going to go to Edit, Define Pattern, and when I click it, this dialog is going to pop up, and I can call this Mesh. Hit OK or Enter, and now I have a pattern. Now, before I go any further, what we could do here is we could click on the first layer, hold Shift, click on all the layers, and hit Control E, which merges them all together. We can double click on the right side over here, bringing up the blending options, and we can go to Color Overlay. Now in color Overlay, I've already chosen white. You'll notice that they all turn white altogether. The reason I did that is because I have not lost my selection. I want to go to Edit, Define Pattern again, and this time I want to call it White Mesh and hit Enter. Okay, there's a few ways you can use the patterns, and there's a few ways to call it up. First thing I want to do right now is I want to create a new document. I want to make this one pretty much a standard size, so let's call it 1920 by 1080. And we'll even put the resolution back down to the default 72 of Photoshop. But we'll go ahead and leave the background transparent just to make things easier on ourselves here. What we want to do is we want to show that there's multiple ways to do things. So let's say I just dragged out a selection. Well, I can't drag out a selection because I'm on fixed size. Let's put it on normal. So if I just drag out any shape, okay, any selection at all, and I go to Edit, and I say Fill, and you have choices here like foreground color, background color, content aware, which we'll get in some other time, black, 50% gray or white. But if you go to Pattern, you have choices, and you can pull down the patterns, and look, there's the black mesh shape. If I hit OK, it fills only that area with the pattern I chose. Now, literally, I could go to, Edit Fill, and we could choose our white. Hit OK, and now it's the white mesh. But let's not worry about that right now. As a matter of fact, let's go back a couple of steps to where we don't even have that selection at all. What we're going to do, we're going to do the whole thing. That's one way to use a pattern. Another way is to go to Window, Patterns, or I've already got it open over here on my sidebar. I can pull up this little dialog, and essentially the entire canvas is about to have my pattern. Now, at this point, one of the cool things that I can do is I can create a solid color adjustment layer. And let's say I chose something interesting like a red. Well, let's not go quite so bright. If I move this below my pattern, the reason we put our pattern dots on a transparent background was so we could have different color meshes. And a lot of people, by the way, like to create a layer and then fill it with the paint bucket with whatever color they choose, and they can go back and change it later. That's all good, that's all well and good, but color fills are a little more quick for your workflow, a little easier. Once you've got this color, you can just double click right here for the color picker. You can change it at will, so you can see how that works. All right, so this is one way we would use it. Another way we might use it is if we were just to completely throw away our pattern layer there. Let's choose the text tool and give it a moment to do its thing. We're going to click in here and we're going to say the letter A. All right. what we want to do is we want to make this fairly large so we can really see it. Move it down where it's in a good position. Okay, now we can also double click on this text layer and go to our blending options again, but this time we can choose pattern overlay. And in pattern overlay, we can choose that mesh background. Now, very much like the layers that we were messing with before, if I'm in the text tool and I've got this letter selected, I can change this background color to anything I like. And you'll see that it's changing behind our mesh shape, I guess. So there's so many different ways that you can use this mesh pattern tool to create lots of cool things. As you may have noticed, our original screen, we were using a mesh pattern, both for the background with a great gradient, kind of making a vignette effect on it, as well as for text. There's so many different things you can do with this, but I hope that you've enjoyed learning how to quickly make this, and I hope you'll come back and check out more of our stuff later. Thanks for watching.
The apocalypse.